Hi, it's Megan. I have been putting a novel, or trying to put a novel on YouTube chapter by chapter by chapter. It's called Masks, and it's about makeup and the masks we wear. And what I basically did is started with chapter 1. I'm now in chapter 5. And so my heroine, Lisa, grew up in Los Angeles, where I live right now. She grew up in a single parent family, but smart, got scholarships to some of the private schools here in LA, and then went to UCLA and started a cosmetics company. And her mother was a cosmetic salesperson to support the family when she was younger, doing Estee Lauder, who's kind of a personal heroine of mine, Estee Lauder. And so that's where Lisa got her love of cosmetics, and what she likes about it is kind of that transformative aspect of it, but also the escape. And so when it's called Masks, it's really about the masks we wear and the masks we use to escape. And unfortunately, Lisa is getting hit by a whole bunch of things. She just got in a big fight with her boyfriend, who was helping her get money to expand her cosmetics company. And now her mother has ended up in the emergency room with a stroke. So she's confronting a lot. So in this chapter, she's talking to her mother's doctor. She hasn't seen her mother yet, and she's trying to figure out in this horrible day how she's going to deal with this new tragedy. So this is chapter 5, and I'm going to put links to chapters 1 through 4 in the description. I'm learning as I try to write this online. I don't really write linearly. I write kind of chapter here, chapter there. So this is not going to be the final product, but this is one way to write a book. Just put chapters together, and then it all gets revised later to make it work perfectly. Okay, so chapter 5. She's sitting down with the doctor. The doctor is the new cliche of too young, dark and handsome, running hospitals and dictating lives. He has a sexy accent and looks good in his scrubs. I'd rather my mom had an older graying expert, but seemingly they've all retired out of the emergency room. So I make the best of it, horrible though that might sound. But I have been having such a bad day, I need a distraction, if only a fleeting and improbable one. After all, I'm likely to be single soon. She just had a fight with her boyfriend, and truth be told, was getting bored with Brad anyway. Some men are so convinced that they're a catch that they forget they're still courting and the fish isn't hooked yet. Women get bored or just plain angry too. And a woman's attention is fully capable of wandering. Just ask any shoe salesperson. So I can listen to a sexy doctor speak, notice he has no wedding ring, and fully enjoy the reality that, as Beyonce said, if you liked it, then you should have put a ring on it. We got her here quickly, administered the right drugs, the handsome young doctor tells me. Most likely she'll be okay, he states, his brown eyes deep and meaningful, as he tells me that my mother will probably be fine, though it's too soon to know for sure. She's recovering now, but still asleep, so they can't tell how her memory might have suffered. Seriously, is anything sexier than a man who might have saved your mother's life? I want to hug him, and really, nothing stops me short of my own inhibitions. I sort of have a boyfriend, but what does that mean? And where will Brad be this evening when he's not having sushi with me? I suspect I'll be at Cedars with Mom, and Ron, her brother, texted that he's on a flight now, so most likely we'll be having a hospital-based family reunion. I need caffeine. So I interrupt. Do you have time to discuss this over coffee? I start, tentatively. I'm about to collapse and need the jolt. He nods, and we head to the cafeteria as I listen to him explaining strokes. A stroke is a cerebrovascular accident in which a disturbance of blood to the brain leads to a lost brain function, he begins. This blockage or hemorrhage causes a disruption, and the affected area of the brain loses its ability to function. Sometimes that loss can be corrected. We have a drug which, if administered in time, can prevent many of the worst repercussions. And your mother got it, so we hope she got it in time. So do I. Did she? I ask, pressing him, desperately seeking reassurance, and I hear my voice breaking. He shifts slightly in his thin aluminum chair, and I study his face, trying to read for any hint of dishonesty, even if only protective. I want the truth. We think so, he responds again, but we might not know for a day or two. She's still very fragile, and in older patients a second follow-on stroke is more common. I watch Dr. Estes as he talks about slurred speech and physical disability on one side or both. He looks tired, with deep circles under both round eyes, offset by long lashes. And I notice how delicately tapered his hands are. But he also looks worried as he sips his milky coffee, and I wonder, only briefly I promise, what it must be like to hold lives in those fingers, and not be deciding between one shade of cool gray versus another. This man deals in life and death, and he just saved my mother's life. She's old, I begin. Thank you, I finish, and feel my second set of tears of the day begin. And in this light, fluorescent and glaring, I know that my pain will be magnified, unlike in my office, where all is muted and covered up. Here people die. How did you end up at Cedars? I asked lamely, then swallow a slug of my coffee, wincing as that acrid, lukewarm fluid goes down. It tastes terrible, old, bitter, and even perhaps rancid. I become spoiled with choosing smoother blends from my office machine. Well, this one has enough caffeine for me to feel its effect immediately, so I guess it serves its purpose. He tells me about growing up in London. Both his immigrant parents are doctors and work long hours while he spent time alone studying, his two brothers doing the same. He'd been lonely, missing his grandparents and what he still thought of his home deep in the neighborhood of Tunis. How the cold chills and never-ending rain of England depressed him, and how he'd made up stories of warm lands and deserts. So when time came for medical school, he followed his wanderlust and dreams, heading to the United States and eventually this emergency room. It's warm in Los Angeles and was originally a desert, he says with a half smile, and I'm glad to see a little humor in his eyes. I guess I need it. As you know, he finishes, and I need this levity now, or even just that hint of laughter, or it's just even a hint of laughter will be possible, maybe soon. Your stories come alive, I ask, clutching my coffee cup still. I feel pressure on my forehead, and my whole body is tight, no taut, poised and waiting for the next blow to strike. I'm going mad. The doctor just gives me a half smile and stands up. My night for only an instant, and now off to charge his next windmill. I'll see him again, as my mother won't be discharged for days. So I grab my styrofoam cup of coffee and follow him, good soldier that I am, to finally see what's left of my mother. His shoulders are broad, though he clearly should eat more, and I can't help but think that I prefer a romantic interlude or a stack of shimmery powders to what will come next. Yes, I love her, but do I want to see her like this? She's from London, too, I tell his back. He turns and with another half smile, as if his full effort would be too much, answers, I know. But what else is left to say? Dutifully, I follow him down the long, white, sterile hallway, which he navigates with such ease and familiarity. The path is almost empty, though we do run into an occasional nurse or patient. This is your daily life, I asked. Does it frighten you? To be responsible for the lives of others? He's ahead of me, but I see him slow his stride before he turns back again, and looking very serious, responds, never. Someone needs to do this job, and I can do it better than most. But I can't do it perfectly, and I accept that. People die, I push, probably not fairly. Yes, is all he says, as he points to a half-shut door. This is your mother's room. And he walks away as I push my way into the unknown. The room is dark, with closed curtains and no light shining inside, like a fucking crypt. I hesitate before crossing the threshold. While I might sound weepy and even pitiful, you must admit that I'm having a pretty awful day so far. Any bets on whether it will get better or worse? I step into the darkness and make out a bed amidst the shadows. A shape moves and I brace myself, knowing that I can never step back into childhood now. My mother has gotten old, and I'll increasingly need to be the strong one, whether or not I'm ready for that burden. Race fearless into the unknown? What choice do I have? That is chapter 5, and I will get chapter 6 up again soon. I also will post this in written form on my blog, and I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Thanks.